No One Likes Us Clothing is the clothing range designed by Millwall fans for Millwall fans. Caps, t-shirts, polos, they've got it all. Visit noonelikesus.co.uk for the full range. Or if you're in Bermondsey on a match day, why not have a pint in the Blue Anchor pub and pick up a Nolu polo shirt, Nolu clothing at www.noonelikesus.co.uk.
You're listening to Achtung Millwall, broadcasting from the beautiful South Bermondsey. Accept no substitute.
Hello and good morning. Welcome to the Friday show. Joining me to review what has been, in truth, a fairly quiet week at Millwall, but we'll do our best. But joining me is the man himself, Mr. Neil Fissler. How are you doing, Neil?
Hello, Nick. How are you? Sorry, mate. I completely forgot it was my turn to talk, man. I don't know.
He's not long got up, listeners. Let's have it out. He's not long got up.
Actually, I thought I set an alarm, and everyone didn't hear me when I said 8 a.m.
There we are. We try and do these shows, listeners, on a Friday morning to give me a chance to get it edited so people can listen to it on Friday or more probably on the way into the ground tomorrow. Hence this kind of slightly just woken up vibe that we've got going here, Neil. There's a big week ahead of us, Neil. Reading tomorrow, Burnley away on Tuesday, and then Cardiff at home next week. For 9 big points at stake there, and I'm still not sure that we entirely have a complete vision as to his favoured starting 11 at the moment.
Yeah, I don't think it probably doesn't help that the transfer window's open for another week.
It is.
So I think we'll touch upon that a little bit later on. It's been a strange old start to the season, hasn't it? We were fourth until last weekend. I don't know what we are now, but I think we dropped to about 8th, didn't we?
I think we're 7th. I just looked on the BBC website. We're in 7th with a bunch of other teams on 7 points.
Yeah, it's one of those early season bunch ups, isn't it? Where you drop a couple of points and all of a sudden you fall down the table. You pick up a couple of points and you're up second or third, and people start getting a bit carried away with themselves, don't they? But I think you're right. I don't think he probably knows what his best team is. I think the injuries haven't helped, so he hasn't been able to a sustained run. Our defensive woes haven't helped, which was normally our strong base, wasn't it?
I mean, I've written a couple of questions. Hutchinson to start, ? Malone on the left, ? Jake, I suppose you'd have to throw into the mix. I think it's that fumbling towards an ideal defensive unit. I mean, I'm going to presume, Neil, that he's going to stick with his 3-man central defence, which seems to, I can't believe that he's going to change that now. So,
well, that inflexibility doesn't help, I don't think, because he's set on this 5-3-2 kind of formation, and he's got a left back woefully out of form, with no obvious replacement. Well, there is a replacement, I suppose. You could put Murray Wallace there, but probably doesn't see him fitting into the wing back.
The attacking role would be where Murray is probably
4-2.
Yeah.
If it was a flat back 4, Murray could easily go in there.
Absolutely.
I think it's the inflexibility of the manager and the manager's system, because he won't deviate from it, despite saying that he wanted to look at other ways of playing and other formations, didn't he, pre-season?
He's mentioned it a couple of times. I just think that the squad that he's assembled over the course of time, and the fact that we very rarely change away from it, so it would be a complete new break into, well, the traditional 4-4-2, I suppose you could argue, would be a step back. Some would see it. It's interesting, leaping around our little agenda that I've put here, listeners. I was struck. I was looking through Twitter and I saw a UEFA report. They had the likes of Roberto Martinez and Gareth Southgate working as game observers, and they've produced a report which tells you largely what it's like, stating the bleeding obvious, really. But they said that one of their traits of the Champions League football is that the most successful teams play this 5-3-2 or variations of it. So I suppose when it's coming from the very highest levels, you're not going to get Gary Rowett particularly changing. He does seem to love it as a format for us. But you're right, that inflexibility does leave us a bit short on options. I mean, Malone is the main issue, I think. I mean, I actually quite like Scott Malone, but he does look off it so far this season. Whether that can change, I don't know. He's got no competition there, really, Neil, is he? I mean, Murray's not really competition for him.
Yeah, but that's what we've said. Murray can play there, but probably doesn't offer the attacking aspects of it. Is Chance Ho or somebody one of the younger players? Does he play there?
I think they can. I think Tyler can probably play there if you asked him to. But it just seems such a waste of attacking talent, and one of our more ruthless strikers, to play him in that position. So it does seem an issue. And then you've got the central. I mean, Cresswell has looked. He's made some good moments for sure, but also mixed in with this very mixed bag of a start. He's also made some errors. So whether Jake starts, whether Hutchinson should start, which is I think I would have to go for Hutch. Whether Jake alongside him is the right way. The Jake, Murray, Wallace, Cooper traditional back three, but then you got your star loan signing sat on the bench, presumably in Charlie Cresswell. So a lot of choices, a lot of options, and it all feels a little bit. I don't know if I'm overdoing it, listeners, but it feels a bit shiftless somehow, Neil, doesn't it? We still don't really know what we're searching for.
Well, I don't think it's helped that we keep on giving teams 2-goal leads.
Don't help. No. That would be nice not to do that, that's for sure.
Although I must admit, I don't think it's our biggest problem, believe it or not. And we've said it before without going over old ground. It's the creativity side of things that, I know that might sound a bit strange. We have come back from 2 goals down in a couple of games recently. But you look at that Norwich game last week. Okay, we played a lot better going forward, didn't we? But we still didn't. In
the second half, and we're forced to. I think that's the thing that strikes me.
Well, we weren't. The frustrating thing is that we go up to Norwich and we're not. We don't look second class, do we? We're not.
No.
We're not totally inferior to them in most aspects. Like I think when we played Fulham last year, and we had our backsides handed to us in the first quarter of an hour. But there was none of that last weekend. You felt that we were still in the game for quite long periods.
Well, that doesn't hold any fear for us. I do agree about the creativity. I think it's Harry made the kind of comparison of a chef having some great ingredients. It's just you've got to make you've got to bake the cake. As I think that was the analogy that H used on that one. I kind of liked it because, as a squad, I mean, I'm just looking at the options up front. Vogelsammer. Incidentally, on a total tangent now, I'm loving some of the pronunciations I'm hearing around the Mill scene of our German Andreas Vogelsammer's name. You've got Vogslammer, you've got Vogie, you've got all sorts of weird and wonderful pronunciations, but we'll come back to that another day.
As good as when we signed Kieftenbeld and...
Well, no, I still hear Bilakovsky in goal. It was Bilakovsky.
Yeah, and another podcast decided that they couldn't, or that a certain member couldn't pronounce Kieftenbeld,
which is quite a simple one, I would have thought.
And thought it'd just be Keith.
So I think Vogie it seems to be evolving because people can't say Vogelsammer. Which
call him in our WhatsApp group, but
yeah, we won't go into that. That's for sure. Not in a public forum, dear listeners.
But no, to be honest, but he's really good, isn't he?
I mean, this is another question. Starting Vogelsammer. I mean, I would have thought that based on the little cameos we've seen so far, he'd be an option up front. I mean, I think maybe the hard choice for Gary Rowett would be whether Benicophobe starts or not. We won't want to drop him because he's star man. But I think that's going to be a dilemma.
Well, Benicophobe just needs a goal, doesn't he?
He does, yeah.
And I think the way we play sometimes doesn't help Benicophobe. We leave him up front isolated, don't we? And
don't serve him. That's right.
And well, obviously, if you're not getting the ball anywhere near him, he's going to look awful, isn't he?
Yeah, that's the forwards' eternal problem. Which takes us to midfield. I mean, obviously we've got Zian Fleming now. Again, I would have thought he'd be a starter tomorrow. I don't know the mind of Gary Rowett, listeners, but you'd have thought he must be at 1.7 million, which is big money by Millwall standards. He must be looking to start at some stage, presuming that he's fully fit now. So,
I actually think it's actually a no-brainer. I think you have to have him, Honeyman, and Saville because they're the three in-form players.
Yeah. Honeyman's scorer of a goal. I mean, I think it's the position that you're playing him in. I think Fleming is the more forward-minded midfielder, so presumably that means Honeyman drops into a more conventional midfield role, which might suit him better than where we've been having to play him. So it's going to be an interesting starting 11 that we see tomorrow when we arrive at the Den, listeners. Main story I've just seen on the news at Den is that we're still in the hunt for one more addition. I kind of in the transfer window, Neil.
Yawn.
Yawn. This is Richard Corley from the London News Online, South London Press. The Lions are in the hunt for one more addition before maybe some going out. I'm going to guess that the ones going out might be in the midfield. I mean, there's one or two midfielders that don't look close to. I think the George Evans there now, Neil. Although he does seem to be a bit of a favourite of Gary Rowett, but it's hard to see Evans getting into this starting 11 at the moment. So whether there's room for ins and outs, I don't know, but certainly ins are on the agenda. There was a wonderful story doing the rounds, which apparently has been nixed by Richard Corley of a Brazilian called Henrique, who isn't on Mill's agenda, but there was a brief fevered, flurry of comment online that we're going to sign this Brazilian. I think he plays for Sporting Lisbon, but that apparently is all internet puff and stuff and nonsense, Neil.
Yeah, it's all smokes and mirrors, isn't it? And who we're going to be linked with and who. Okay, yeah, we have been down the foreign route, I think, with two of our signings this summer, so that doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to sign everyone that comes up. And as for the internet experts, I doubt that any of them have seen this Brazilian play. He could be one, really, couldn't he? Remember that? Yeah, remember that Brazilian that we signed?
Juan, yeah.
Juan, and he missed... he missed from about 3 yards in one game, and it was his last competitive action for the club.
I think he's the sole Brazilian that's ever played for the Lions, Juan, and this would be, when would that be? It would be about the late 2000s, I think, wasn't it? 8, 6, 7, 8, something like that. But he did actually go on to play for the Brazilian national team after he left us. So, like many players, they flop at it then and go on to success elsewhere. But
Arsenal as well. He didn't make anything at Arsenal.
No, he didn't. No.
But so you've got to be cautious with these clickbait websites and Twitter feeds. And the problem with our fan base is seem to get a bit carried away when we're linked with somebody, and all of a sudden the romantic notions of, he'll be a great signing, and you haven't seen him play.
We're going to get the next Zico.
Exactly, and then they take up Vogel Sammer's. They take a look at Vogel Sammer's scoring record and decide he's shit. But in truth, none of us have seen him play. You start dubbing Fleming the Bermondsey Bergkamp.
Well, it's in the nature of the beast, isn't it? The internet is an instant reactive, for better or for worse. It's it's instant reaction, which doesn't always give you the most insightful views and opinions. Just looking at this is another Richard Corley story. Gary Rowett reviewing the start of the season. He makes reference, Gary Rowett, to the tough nature of the opening set of fixtures. Presumes meaning trips to Sheffield United and Norwich, which they both look like they're going to be contenders. It does rather imply we're going to have to make the most of these kinds of fixtures ahead of us. Reading at home, Burnley away we might have to write off, but certainly Cardiff at home the week after are going to have to be ones that we make maximum capital out of.
There are games blocks, I think they call it in football now, don't they? Blocks of games. Certainly, you've got to be looking at winning your home games, haven't you? And they're both definitely winnable.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Reading of apparently for those people that like the review of our forthcoming games, Reading.
This is it. This is it, by the way.
Yeah, Reading, the shithole in bloody in
the Majeski Stadium.
Plastic. Yeah, you have a plastic ground on the edge of the motorway, but then again, we're not going there, are we? But they've had a decent start to the season.
Yeah, 3 wins. Yeah. 2 losses. Yeah.
Never a team I'd liked playing for some unknown reason because the plastic nature of their support base. I think that they were for me, they summed up that soccer AM generation.
Reading, it's the whole out of town. The Majeski is the classic example of.
You remember that stupid chant that was going around at one stage? They score, and all of a sudden they'd start doing this easy.
They're like an expanded, larger version of Wycombe Wanderers. I never enjoyed playing Wycombe Wanderers either. It's another club that is always, I don't know if they're bogey sides. It's just never. It doesn't feel like
in the home counties.
It must be something about that. It must be that kind of prosperous nature of these places, I suppose. I don't know.
Oxford is another one. I got an irrational dislike of going to Oxford. But I can tell you why. When we got promoted in the late 90s, wasn't it? When I think we went to the Manor Ground towards the end of the season.
Yeah.
And we won, and then they put us on these buses and they drove us around Oxford for about an hour.
Not the Dreaming Spires either, was it?
No, exactly. It was all the all of the desirable council estates that don't get any attention in Oxford, and then they put us in the hotel in the station car park,
right,
for about 35-40 minutes, and I think my boy was about 8 and 9 at the time. 7 or 8, and he wanted to go to the toilet, and they wouldn't let him go to the toilet, so he had to down and, I think it's those unique away day experiences with Millwall. They tend to they
leave a grudge, don't they? They leave a grudge in your head. I'm just looking at Gary Rowett's interview here, Neil, with London News. One of the quote that stood out for me is he says that we're still bedding players in, and by that he's meaning obviously Vogelsammer and to some extent Zian Fleming as well.
And Creswell,
Shackleton, yeah, absolutely. So hopefully they've had a good week. Hopefully we're going to see the benefit of that relatively quiet news week at the Den tomorrow and on into next week.
Yeah, a tough one, isn't it? Because they're under Vincent Kompany now, aren't they?
Yeah, they're certainly Burnley are certainly media darlings for that reason.
It's one that Sky have jumped on them. They've replaced, but their other media darlings have got promoted.
Well, Forest and Leeds are out of it now, so they needed one, didn't they?
Yeah.
I mean, they're not doing brilliantly well, Burnley. I mean, I think it's one win, and let me just check whilst I'm speaking here, listeners. Before
I was going to say, actually, Nick, was they're under Vincent Kompany. I've seen them on TV a couple of times.
Yeah,
and they don't look anything special.
No, I don't think so. One win, 3 draws, and 1 loss, listeners.
It's a lot better than they've looked.
Yeah, I mean they're in 16th. I keep going to say that it's early for the table, and it is early for the table, just 5 games in. But football cliche lore has it that after 10 games, you can roughly see where things are going for the season. And we're 5 games towards that 10-game marker now, and we will be on 8 games by this time next, well, not this time, but in 8 days' time after the end of next Saturday's game against Cardiff. So we're kind of getting towards the shakeout period where we see where teams are placed and where they're looking to either move up from or will they stay there? I don't know.
Computer's done us no favours sending us to Burnley midweek, is it? It's bad enough on a Saturday. Burnley.
There's a lot of those kinds of trips this season. It's a very, very northern division.
August, and it's not going to be. It'll probably still be one of those bleak nights, won't it? And I think it's even bleak up there in summer.
It's a ground I've never been to, Burnley. I drove past it. Where was I going? I was going somewhere. I think I was going across that motorway that takes you along the Lancastrian town. So I've been past it, but I haven't been in it. I've never been to Burnley. It's one of those few grounds that I haven't been to up that way. I suppose it's always such a lug to get there, Neil. It's never an enticing trip, is it? Away to Burnley.
I've been there. I've been there by train. It was change at Preston, I believe.
Preston's the big point, isn't it? Yeah.
And then you go through all of these toilets, for the want of a better word. Places like that. And
oh dear, I can't remember where I was going now. Why I went past Burnley? It'll come back to me if anyone's ever interested.
Yeah, well, the station's kind of out of town, right on the top of a mountain, and I mean a mountain.
Yeah, it's high, isn't it? Yeah.
The station overlooks the town, so you can see the football ground, and you walk around the town centre, and you're thankful to be getting back to Newham that night, and it's not often that you say.
Not often you can say that. Just looking at just briefly, Neil, because I don't want to dwell on this. This is Danny Mack talking to Alex Jones of, I think he's News at Den. Alex Jones, isn't he? News at Den. Talking about this foul on Josh Sargent made on Danny and on Scott Malone to score that second goal last week. Talking about VAR, he says he thinks it's coming in the Championship. I think it will come in the Championship. There's a logic to it, isn't there? The Premier League feature it now. They feature it in all of that level of competition. I can see it coming to the Championship, rightly or wrongly. I think it will come at some stage.
Mate, do you know what? I don't think it was a foul.
I think it's poor defending.
Yeah, I think it was just rank poor defending. And there was a tangle of legs. But VAR in the Championship, do you know what? Yeah, I don't think it will. I think it will cost too much money. And they haven't got enough officials.
No, it is expensive. It's very expensive.
And you need everything to be televised. You need the whole setup. I don't know what the cost of VAR is.
Must be. I don't know, but it's got to be a pricey thing.
Exactly. Apparently, allegedly, we've got goal line technology in the Championship now, which was something I wasn't aware of. Somebody said online.
Well, when the ball crosses the line, the referee has a watch which shows it's crossed the line.
Because apparently that was cameras pointed down, and that was quite expensive. But VAR, I think, is in its millions, isn't it? Because of the
no, it is a pricey thing.
I'm sure it's a. Should we have it? Definitely, because we get probably more worse decisions than most teams. Certainly in and around the penalty area, there's always
I mean, there is that side of it. I mean, I'll take your point entirely about the cost of it. I think the thing that I really hate with it, and I like the idea of getting decisions right. I mean, no one can truthfully argue with that deep down, because you should win or lose on a fair application of the rules, and VAR is a step in that direction, not a complete answer. I just think it's the delay of review time. I watched a German game, Neil. I can't remember the two teams, one of the Bundesliga games they showed last week, and a goal was scored, And the review, when they were going down to the nth degree of whether his toe was in front of the last defender for the ball through, it took forever. And that's the bit that I hate. I don't like that delay part. I don't know if there's a way around that, but it just seems forever that they take
it for Aldo last weekend, were you watching a game for him to pass on the line? No. I make you right, Nick. I think that when they start going about, is somebody's nose in front?
Well, yeah. I mean, it strikes me that's not strictly the application of the offside rule, because I mean, I'm not a referee and I don't claim to be an expert on football law, but basically, if you're level with the last defender, you're onside, as I understand it. But a strict application of VAR, Neil, means that you can never really, no one's ever truly level, are they? I mean, there's always going to be a fraction of something in front of somebody else. That rule.
Yeah, they were talking about a body part length or something, or you had. Yeah, which I always thought it was. Yeah, not your fingernail that you had.
No.
To be honest, I think they're speeding it up a lot. There seems to be a lot less controversy around VAR.
Well, it's speed of decision is key, isn't it? That's that. You need that. I'm not sure. I mean, Danny's saying here about he thought it was a foul, but then he would do, wouldn't he? To quote Mandy Rice Davids last week, and I'm not sure VAR would have given it really, because having looked at it a few times, there's a hint of a little trip in there, and whether that would have been enough to disallow the goal or not, I don't know. I think you just defend better. I think that's the solution, isn't it?
Yeah, but they need to be a little bit stronger. Yeah, they got bullied out of the ball. Yeah, but that's not beat around the bush. They were bullied out of the ball.
Well, there it is. It's that, and that's what's going to govern the outcome of the season, because there's plenty of decent teams that will push you around if you let them, and that's not been traditionally the Millwall way, if there is a Millwall way. But I think that's it. Yeah,
there was one player not being strong enough, and then there was another one that came in and completely got in everyone's way.
Yeah.
So I think. Yeah, without actually doing anything. I think it was Danny Mack ran across, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's defensive technique there, or certainly defensive skills in that situation.
Yeah, I think should have cleared the player out, really, shouldn't he, and picked up the yellow card for the team.
Yeah, you've got to take the player down. I mean, better to concede the free kick on the halfway line, draw a yellow possibly. That's better that than concede the goal. That's the hard reality of football, isn't it? But anyway, there we are. We'll see on the VAR front. I mean, I think you're right. Money will probably control in the end whether it does or doesn't seep down into the Championship.
Achtung, Millwall.
Just looking at some of the Millwall news this week, there's going to be a tribute to Bob Pearson before the game tomorrow versus Reading. A minute's applause. Nice gesture. I think members of Pearson's family will be in attendance. So, and the team will be wearing black armbands to acknowledge a huge contribution to our club. So get there early for that.
Mill will always do well. It tributes to former players and former members of staff, managers, and that kind of thing. It's something that Mill will do pretty well. I know they're appealing to people to get in their seats early, so I don't know if they're going to have. I think Father Owen normally comes out and says a few words, doesn't he? And
we're just looking at. I mean, we've touched on it. I don't want to overdo it. We mentioned Bob last week, but they got a list of names here: Kevin Callahan, Brian Horn, Keith Stevens, Alan McCleary, Dean Horrocks. We've mentioned Neil Harris. We've mentioned Teddy. I mean, the list goes on and on. So it was a major contributor to the last 40 years at Millwall, really, one way and the other. So, yeah, and you're right. The club do these things very, very well. I imagine some kind of tribute on screen, followed by a minute's applause, I'm going to guess. So, yeah, get there early tomorrow for that, listeners. Neil, you had a thing... conversation you had regarding away fans standing in the away end, which is causing a bit of a controversy apparently.
Yeah, this was something I picked up from Hoff. I think BMC.
Yeah.
Everybody knows John, don't they? Spoke to Steve Kavanagh about one or two issues. And this was definitely one of them. And it was to do with away fans standing
Okay.
at games and why the lower tier has suddenly been made available to
away support.
Yeah, to away support, because it was something that we've always thought should happen. Yeah, it would appear as if it's not for any other reason than a local authority job's worth has got involved. Decided to victimise Millwall for away fans being stood up.
That's fascinating. I don't think I'm alone. I mean, I'll normally stand up in my little spot. I'll probably attract the interest of that Jobsworth now, probably next to me tomorrow, watching me stand up. I mean,
football safety group or the certification
group, yeah,
people.
Okay.
That apparently that we're the highest for complaints in our division of people standing in the away end. I'm just reading off.
So there must be other away fans, Neil, complaining that their own fans are standing up and obscuring their view. I can't imagine who else will complain about that.
Yeah, no, unless it's Jobsworth, bullied as a kid. Yeah, well,
probably wet the bed a few times.
Yeah, well, most certainly. And if they're listening to this, or even if you do know the person, you actually feel free to send a link to this podcast. Yeah, but bedwetter. Have they not got anything better to do than to? Two things to say on this. You watch any game in the country this weekend, there will be more people stood up than sat down. Yeah?
Yeah, precisely. Yeah.
Not a Millwall problem, despite this person trying to make it out to be a Millwall problem. Yeah, I don't know. It would appear as if, if you're a steward, you're being paid what? Yeah, what's the minimum wage now?
They're campaigning for £15 as a minimum wage, so it's going to be less than that at the moment. So I don't know.
So,
the memory is about a tenner. I haven't been involved in that kind of stuff.
Steward, you are not going to wade in to a group of football fans stood up in an away end and say, "Excuse me, do you mind sitting down?" to be told to F off.
Very hard thing to enforce. I'd say almost impossible to enforce it unless you start, as you say, dragging one or two out, and that is going to go badly wrong. I mean, I've never seen. I haven't been away for a little bit with one thing and another, listeners, but where people have tried to enforce anything like that with the Millwall away support, they give it up quite quickly because we have a support that will not be told what to do lightly.
Yeah. Exactly, and it would appear as if that it looks like we're going to have to install safety barriers at the back of the away end,
safe standing style,
to make sure that it can be kept open. That's the upper tier, and that's going to cost £100,000 apparently. The other, the school of thought is from a fan in the know, knows a couple of people. Phil Clark. Sorry, Phil, I had to out you, mate.
You've been outed, mate.
It makes a very good point, actually. He made a very good point to me on Hoff. That why would the club spend that money when the regeneration kicks off and in the area we're virtually gonna rebuild the ground, aren't we? And
there's talk of filling in corners. Is always the great thing, isn't it? I wasn't aware of any rebuild inside the stadium, other than cosmetic stuff. I don't know about revamping the interior of the stadium from that. I mean, the couple of things strike me on that question is, there's a whole movement now for. It's called safe standing, which is rail seating. It's like you still have a seat, but you can stand up and lean on a barrier that's in front that's geared towards the fan standing. I mean, I think standing in seated areas is innately dangerous because you can topple, and so there is a safety issue there, if you like. I wasn't aware of it being a particular problem for us, but I suppose if there is a Jobsworth there, Neil, in the football certification group, they wield great power, and they can. Well, they'd be hard pushed to withdraw the safety cert, but you can do stuff.
Exactly. It seems as if Millwall are being bullied by the bedwetter.
We've got his whole life mapped out here, listeners.
Yeah, but exactly. It just seems a bit unnecessary. I don't ever recall it being a problem other than when, was it the Cardiff fan decided to go for a fly off the top tier?
But that was not seating related. That was because he wanted to have it with some fans in the lower deck of it would be the West Stand, wouldn't it? And he was giving it too large and then fell off. But that was just human folly, because I mean, don't put yourself in positions where you might fall off. I know the law doesn't always reflect that common sense approach.
For that reason, was it? Yeah, but he's forever ingrained into Millwall folklore.
Oh, he is. Yeah, no, he was doing the old wanker sign. I think he got on top of the ledge to give it even more venom to his gesturing, and then fell off, endangering his life. As far as this is, I mean, this is an interesting story, really. I mean, I imagine then that they've opened up the lower tier, which is a good thing. And letting fans down. Well, that's got security aspects, I suppose, Neil, isn't it?
Be select. You can't give it to the likes of Birmingham,
Cardiff, no,
where there have been. Although I think Cardiff probably changed a little bit. I've never known there to be. You can walk in and around Cardiff now.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, going off slightly on a tangent, I was listening to The Price of Football recently.
Yeah.
That unfunny Nigel, the woke idiot himself. I can't. Kevin bloody Day or whatever he's called. Described Millwall's away end as not fit for purpose, and this is coming from a club that has actually got asbestos in the roof, stinks piss and onions.
I've never been in the away end, actually. I mean, I can't. It's tight. It's tightly up against the outdoors. Is tightly up against the sports centre around there. Plenty of room around the rest of the ground, but then it's the away end. So very rarely are they more comfortable or well appointed than the home stand.
It's a Jeremy Kyle stand, isn't it? And there's never a problem there. I just think it's just one of those situations where somebody is looking to be controversial for the sake of being controversial.
Well, Millwall is always a handy name to throw into the mix, whether whatever your subject, whatever your cause you're pounding. If you can say you achieved something at Millwall, it's got this kind of diabolical kind of reputation, and so therefore you're like White Earp cleaning up Deadwood.
Yeah, well, you're spoken about in hushed tones, aren't you, the rest of your bedwetting career, but.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, as a general principle, I mean, safe standing, I think, is a good thing. I think the loss of standing, properly monitored, properly safety conscious, blah blah blah, was a bit of a loss for football in this country. I mean, it came in the aftermath of the 80s and the Hillsborough and all the rest of it, and the Bradford disaster and all that kind of thing. So I think anything that gets a return to designated areas with safe standing. I don't know that our stadium is particularly geared up for it. I mean, there was another thing I read, Neil, that the shape of our stadium was designed to conform with the Taylor report, and I don't know that we lend ourselves particularly easily to standing up. So I don't know what the club's going to do on that front, but
it would be very interesting because I actually guessed that the way you put your feet, it's not exactly the widest, is it? So I would, in our ground, it would probably create more problems than it would solve.
Big problem where I stand is bird shit, and that's a very unsafe thing. I can tell you that much. But anyway, I won't pound on about the dicky birds.
Not come around and decided the bird.
Come have a look. Mr. Bedwetter, come and have a look at the birds. It's where I sit, stand, or whatever.
Yeah, well, yet again, we start off talking about a serious subject. And it rapidly descends into toilet humour.
Achtung, Millwall.
Oh dear, we'll see how that little controversy unfolds. And if you're listening, Mr. Bedwetter, we'd love to get you on the show. Do give us a shout. I won't call you Mr. Bedwetter when you come on.
I will.
Neil will, but I won't. Another little thing that there's a brief flurry of controversy in the week, Neil. There was a brief moment where the Millwall Community Trust lent its name to an initiative, a trade union initiative called Enough is Enough, which related to a series of overtly political demands, which the TUC have put together, relating to food poverty and the need to raise living standards and energy and all the other things that are going on. I don't particularly want to delve too deep into it, because I think there was a tweet posted through the Millwall Community Trust that was then deleted because they were lending their name to something that was quite distinctly in the realm of the political rather than the community issues. Where the barrier lies between those two issues is a whole different debate, listeners, and this is a football podcast, so I don't want to get into that. But it just struck me, Neil, that football and politics, which have always been linked, naive to think otherwise, but it's a very delicate minefield to tread your way through, isn't it? I mean, we've seen a few issues in recent years, the taking of the knee being one of them, and various other, the identification of football with various causes, which can take you into some delicate areas at times, and don't always work it doesn't always work out for the best. And this was a brief flurry. It got deleted, and that's the end of that. So I don't particularly want to flog the MCT for this, but it's a good example of how lending your name to an overtly political cause doesn't always work well in football. Yeah,
no, I think well, on the face of it, you read the mission statement for that Enough is Enough.
Yeah.
And I think most people, unless you're particularly warped, some of our fans are, because apparently that they don't look at the bigger picture, you'd actually agree with most of the aims of that Enough is Enough.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but actually eradicate food poverty being one, and we do give all of our revenue from this podcast, not just profit, the whole of our revenue,
the whole shebang,
to the Lions Food Hub.
Yeah.
£15 an hour minimum wage, affordable housing, etc., etc., etc. And on the face of it, you think, actually, they've got a point. And to be honest, I was having a conversation with my mum yesterday afternoon, and we were talking about renationalising energy and utilities and rail, and it was the one thing I probably agreed with Jeremy Corbyn on. But then you dig into it a little bit deeper, and then you look at this Enough is Enough, and it's hard left momentum behind it. And when you get people like the guy that's wreaking havoc from the rail unions, Mick Cash.
Oh, Mick Lynch.
Yeah, Mick Lynch coming out in favour of it and saying how great it is and down with the government strike. You kind of think, there are a great number of initiatives around. One of them being Rainbow Laces. I'm not gay. That's get it straight, but I don't hold it against anybody who is. But you see Sky preaching about Rainbow Laces at the cricket, and they do all these interviews. But then again, last weekend they took they did business with one of the biggest abusers of gay rights in the world, Saudi Arabia.
Well, so, this is it.
Same as to take the knee. To start off with, it was a strong thing, but then it just becomes a bit samey, doesn't it? And I think in this country, we actually allow broadcasters in particular to dictate to us and our sport clubs what's going on and what we will do, the way we will behave at games. And I just think it was just an unfortunate situation. Some junior member of staff, let's not hang them out to dry, and I'm being serious.
No, far from it.
It's one of those unfortunate things that happens. You would have thought that the club would run the Twitter account. I'm surprised they leave it to a junior member of staff. So things like this, and particularly the hard left, if they were to have seen that tweet and then all of a sudden it's disappeared, it just opens up a whole can of worms you can do without.
Yeah, I mean, I you just going back to the Enough is Enough initiative, which I mean, you're right. Each of the aims of the campaign are in themselves stuff that most people would want to see. I mean, that no one wants to see. I hope no one wants to see people not having being able to put their heating on or their lights and not having enough to eat and then all the rest of it. These are all good aims. The achievement of how you get there is something that should be settled through the ballot box. There is obviously a campaign is brings things to people's attention. I just think there's a danger for football to get too overtly linked with things that rightly belong in the realm of politics rather than general mainstream aspirations for people. I don't know if I'm making any sense, but some things do belong at the ballot box. That's where it should be settled. In taking time to actually look into the rights and wrongs of any particular campaign is always worthwhile. I've listened to Mick Lynch. He's an interesting bloke. There was an interview with another name that people suck their teeth at when he does an interview with James O'Brien on as a podcast now. It's quite interesting because I don't think he's quite the person that he gets painted as in the media. I think there's always a danger that the media will cast you as a cartoon rather than a real person. But if you agree with him or you don't agree with him, then the place at the end of the day is to settle that is at the ballot box. That's how it should be done. But
it always used to be that you came together with people of different persuasions for 90 minutes on a Saturday afternoon or a Tuesday evening, don't you? And you're all united in one common cause. And
that's football. Yeah, I take great pleasure in the fact that, I mean, I know many people through Millwall, I mean, yourself included now. I mean, you don't necessarily agree with every single person you meet in this life, but you can have a civil conversation. You could even call them friends, you know. You don't agree with every single friend that you have, do you? You know, it's a range of conversation.
Yeah, but I think you're in danger of over-politicising.
Yeah, I mean, it's been and it's gone. It was taken down, and probably rightly so. I think you can support the Enough is Enough initiative, or you can not support it, but it's not a football matter in that sense.
You can support their aims, but it's just one of those things, isn't it? Somebody screwed up, and yeah, we're no big deal really. At the end of the day, no harm done. Yeah, but it gives us something to talk about.
Yeah, we filled in 10 minutes of that podcast.
Achtung, Millwall.
I was trying to think how we can close it out, and I come up with some really boring. There was a Bournemouth apparently have developed a means of scoring from kickoff, and it was done by Mbappe, but it's just boring. It's a TikTok thing apparently. They kick it off and they get forward quickly and score a goal, but I can't be bothered with that. I've got TikTok. I never look on it. It's not my scene. But what did strike me this morning, and I thought we'd close with this, is Arsenal have released a new pre-match. I don't know if this is a kit or it was a pre-match shirt, but it's horrible. It's to show solidarity with their Jamaican community. They produced a Jamaican flag coloured shirt with Arsenal badge on it. I mean, Leary doesn't do it justice now. I don't know if you had a look at this thing, but it's like something from. They had an 80s V shirt, didn't they? And I think it's trying to go down that road. But it's in the green, gold, and black colours of the flag of Jamaica, and it pays tribute to those who call North London and Jamaica home. And it's a really Leary shirt. I bet they sell loads of it. It's horrible.
They've got Emile Smith Rowe, a white player, publicising it.
I mean, I just wonder what the Millwall version would be. I don't know. We'd probably have to have We probably have to have a Scottish version or something, or maybe an Irish version. I think probably more, given the number of Irish players we've had over the years. A green, gold, and white one, baby.
Yeah, no, this is with many Jamaicans living across our local community and across the capital. I would have thought, yeah, they are going to sell quite a lot of them, but
they'll sell loads of this. Yeah, they'll sell loads of
ending, isn't it?
I mean, it's horrible. I mean, I wouldn't wear it. I wouldn't wear it not because of any. I'm neither pro nor anti Jamaica. I've never been to the country, but it's just. I mean, it's an Arsenal shirt, of course, but the actual design of it is it's in your face. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, no. Well, I know that Millwall get enough stick for this, that, and the other, don't they? But this is just another. When you're in a cost of living crisis, I'm going to get a little bit political here.
Go on.
What goes through these club brains that all of a sudden people are struggling to heat and to put food on the tables? So a club decides to release a special
edition shirt. There's a vast market in that kind of thing, though, Neil. Vast market. I mean, I bet this sells big, even though it's horrible to my eye. People will snap it up.
Yeah, but you just wonder that. Yeah, I think at Brentford, aren't they still wearing the same kit as last year to give it a longevity? What happened to wearing these things and for 2 years? And
it's marketing dressed up as social concern. I think we're going back to what we've just talked about.
Yeah,
it's this corporate desire to be right on, because it makes you a lot of money actually if you get it.
Because let's get it right, and we see them down the den. Yeah, there are people that buy any old tack.
Yes, there are.
And as Sugar would say on the Apprentice, yeah, they will buy any of this rubbish, won't they? And
yeah, they will, and they do. I think Millwall should produce one and make it really controversial. Do it in green, orange, and white. So for our Irish links,
yeah, well,
they'll go down a storm and off.
Yeah, well, let's be honest. Yeah, this is absolutely hideous.
It is hideous.
Right, people will buy it, but what makes it even worse is that if you buy one of these hideous monstrosity things, leave it in its wrapper, don't wear it, probably in 10 years, 15 years' time, you'll probably get 200-300 quid for it.
On eBay, people do sell these old. There was an old Millwall 80s shirt. There was one of them. Always goes down in one of the kind of. I think it was a training shirt. It wasn't an actual shirt that we wore, but
you money in this thing, in this kind of thing. You see that some of these Millwall shirts people are paying £150 and things like that. It's absolutely crazy money. I think it's probably a lot more than it's worth. But then again, what do you gauge it's worth is what somebody will pay for it.
Well, precisely.
I suppose. And the third shirt, which I think we wore at Norwich last weekend, didn't we?
The red one.
Yeah, it is a throwback to the old Captain Morgan shirt, isn't it? And
we don't need that. We could have worn our blue shirts out there. I don't know why we need them.
You're absolutely right. It used to be that we used to have one of those gearish coloured third shirts for the odd occasion where somebody wore blue and whatever colour stripes it was, and I don't remember them much earlier than 10, 15 years ago. It's
a desire to sell stuff. I mean, the red shirt is pleasant to look at. It doesn't do much for me. At the end of the day, Millwall playing a blue shirt, and they have an alternative. I quite like just a plain white shirt, Neil.
Yeah, we play in the wrong colour blue shirt, let's be honest. But why do we need a third shirt? And there will be people that will buy it, that will be foaming at the mouth to buy it 10 minutes after the club give it the big sell.
It makes me laugh that the club shop haven't got it. Invariably, the club shop have never got this stuff.
Yeah, can I just bring one thing up?
Of course.
It's something that we had on the agenda and that we haven't spoken about
Oh,
was Mel Bingham
the British Legion badge. Yes, good.
organising the badge. I know that I know that you used to bring out a lot of badges.
I used to. I haven't done it for a long time for one reason and another, listeners. But this is a great initiative, Neil, for the Poppy appeal this year.
Has a lot of good work in that.
Yeah.
And I'm not just saying it because you threatened me to come around, but no, Mel does brilliant work.
She does, yeah.
She was behind the Lee Callahan bench, I believe.
I didn't know that, but yeah, I've seen the bench, obviously.
Yeah, she was, and various other things.
She does the Poppy appeal each year for the British Legion. Yeah.
Does absolutely brilliant work on it, and there's a competition. It's across everybody's socials where you can design a Poppy badge. That there's going to be, I think, a limited run of 1,000.
Yeah, and it marks the 40th anniversary of the Falklands conflict, Neil. Which is which I remember well.
Well, as one of my mates' brothers, when I was a child, he fought there, and I can remember and on the estate that we lived on, there was a party for the guy when he came back.
Yeah,
serving, and it's a great cause, and I don't think there's a prize per se, is there? But I think I
think other than the fact that you've designed a badge that's done a lot of good, that should be a prize in itself.
Yeah, and it's a great initiative, and I think they'll sell 1,000 easily because Millwall are great supporters of this kind of thing. Millwall fans.
Yeah, and we do it well, and this is a great initiative. I'm just thinking on a tangent, actually. The Falklands War is one of those events. It's one of the great strange things of your life, listeners, is when your life becomes history. Because I remember it very well, Neil. I mean, you just said about the boy from your estate coming back after serving. I remember the events unfolding, and it was a brutal war. I've read the book by Max Hastings, which gives a very good account of it. It was a close run thing out there, which I don't think we were quite aware of at the time in this country. It wasn't a cakewalk, let's put it that way. And when I was working, I was a union rep, and I actually represented one of our chaps who had served on one of the merchant naval ships out there, and had been afflicted with the stress disorder afterwards because he was attacked. The missile attack from the Argentine Air Force. So it seems to me like yesterday, and of course it's 40 years. It's one of those strange moments where your life becomes history, Neil. Left its effects on a lot of people.
Yeah, no, it's a great initiative. Get your kids to design it. Or
have a go.
It's a great initiative. I think you send your designs, Cara Mel Bingham at Millwall.
We'll retweet there's links on the club website for it. We'll give it a retweet. You send it into the club, and there's a judging process. Well said. Good calls, great stuff from Mel. So huge thank you to Neil for joining me on this Friday morning. Thank you, Neil.
No problem, mate. And hopefully by the time we talk this time next week, we've got 6 points in the bag and Vincent Kompany's crying all the way to the Man City campus.
Well, that'd be nice. Thank you to you too, dear listener, for tuning in. We'll be back. I'll probably do a live show tomorrow, so I'll be back over the weekend at some point by the time I've edited that. But we'll be back on Monday, and then Neil and I back same time next week, next Friday morning. Something for the weekend. Till then, bye for now.
You have been listening to Achtung Millwall. Please do leave us a review at Apple Podcasts. Dankeschön. Up the lines.
No One Likes Us Clothing is the clothing range designed by Millwall fans for Millwall fans. Caps, t-shirts, polos, they've got it all. Visit noonelikesus.co.uk for the full range. Or if you're in Bermondsey on a match day, why not have a pint in the Blue Anchor pub and pick up a Nolu polo shirt, Nolu clothing at www.noonelikesus.co.uk.